computer. I'm going to, where are we?
Maybe I could get a copy of the recording later.
Sure enough. No bother at all.
Yeah.
Live on Facebook. Here we go. Next. Okay, so what it's doing, it'll just give me the live stream preview. And we'll go from there then. And I'll say, as soon as I click on we're going live, I'll just give you the nod, okay, and I'll cede the floor to you then, Dominic. You talk away to your heart's content after that, buddy. Okay, so here we go. So, okay, Dominic, so we're getting ready to go live now, okay? So I'm clicking on live. Go live anyway. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Facebook Live. And this afternoon, we have the irrepressible Dominic Scaffidi. Well, I think it's a wonderful description here, Dominic, because it's from all the banter that you and I have had over the time on Facebook. It's hard to believe that today is the first time we're actually having a face-to-face conversation, an actual verbal conversation. And I'm so happy this is happening. I'm so happy that we're getting the chance to connect like this. So before we go any further, Dominic, introduce yourself to us.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm an executive coach by profession, I guess, or career. And so mainly I do three things. I work one-to-one in executive coaching with individuals. They're leaders working in large organizations. I'm also a team coach, so I'm trained in being able to coach a team. And then the third thing that I do is I also train leaders and people managers to be great coaches rather than good bosses. We came across each other because of a shared interest in, I guess it began in the 3 principles and has expanded into other sorts of things online, private Facebook groups that we're part of and all of that. And it's been great getting to know you over the years. And from that, you know that another passion and interest of mine is around, I'm going to say, who are we really and what's possible for us? And I have a strong interest in the realm of creation and performance and, you know, how we live this life that we have for the next whatever number of years we've got. So I spend a lot of time and attention on that.
When we were talking there a few minutes ago, I actually, to dial it back, I was having a conversation earlier on with a gentleman in the UK, and the word creation did come up in the conversation as the conversation evolved outwards. And essentially, when we break everything down to break everything into where we are presently, the ability to create, the ability to be open to new possibilities. And as I was saying to you a while ago, what I'm noticing now with this unfortunate arrival of the coronavirus with COVID-19, with it has brought an enormous amount of space. And this whole vista has opened up in front of me personally. And exploring myself and exploring new areas and just really valuing what's in front of me right now has turned into a really rich experience for me in areas of creation and in areas of what's possible now. And like I said, what I have noticed is that how nimble I have become around certain things, and how quickly I have readjusted to not having my bricks and mortar premises to be going to work to every day at the moment. And in essence, I'd love to hear what you have to say about that type of idea, how nimble we've become, like would say the area of creation and the area of possibility, really.
Yeah, that's it's a really great question, and it's I mean, I'm experiencing it myself, and the other, you know, privilege you and I have as coaches is I get also a lens into the impact with clients and what's happening with clients. So I think the most important thing to remember, and then we'll kind of come back to it, but there is nothing different about this current environment, right? If you really kind of look at it, there is nothing different about it. But what it has done is it has emphasized some things that were always true, but we didn't notice. And so we were busy. busy in our head, busy in our thinking, busy in, living our lives. But so what you get with something like this is it escalates or makes more vivid some things. And so certainly that has happened. When I look with the leaders that I'm working with in organizations, a lot of people have been talking about this as it takes you into crisis leadership, right? Okay. Well, it's interesting because I'm lucky. I have one of my clients. They've taken 24 of their leaders, and it's a pretty enlightened organization from my perspective. But they've taken 24 of their leaders, and I'm coaching them, so I get to watch what's going on. We have 4 coaching sessions, and I get to watch what's happening with them. And sure enough, in this environment, the challenge of it is calling them to step up in a way that they've never had to step up before. Right. So, they've always dealt with change and ambiguity and uncertainty and a lack of able to control the world. Like all of this stuff they've always dealt with. But what happened with the virus is the other shocks in the system have made apparent what was always the case. And now it is calling them to lead at a level and in a way that they haven't led before. Interesting from my perspective is I've noticed my coaching is becoming unrecognizable, because as I'm coaching them, I am being called to coach in a way that I will get off the phone sometimes and go, who was that? That was weird, just in terms of the way I've been. I've even had a few clients that I've emailed them back with a little bit of are you all right? Because I don't know what happened there.
You've been exploding minds.
Yeah, I was like, are you okay? So just to sort of check. But so there is something in this which is calling us or calling something through us in a way that has never been before. At least we think that.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, and again, it was always there. We're just more open to seeing what was already there.
That's very interesting, Dominic. It continues to point about what I see myself, I said how I feel nimble, and how this is, like you see, and as you pointed out so beautifully, it's always been there. It's just that I wasn't looking in that particular direction.
Yeah, so let's say the nimble part. Here's the part that makes it easier. And there's a lot of learning from this, because the learning is you don't need another virus in order for who you are to really show up and express itself. So let's not need another one.
Yeah,
okay?
Fair enough.
We are okay to do this on our own if we can learn from this, right? Yeah. So what happens with this is that you have always had the ability to focus and to move in the direction of what you desire, right? But we were talking about your example, and I have so many client examples, and even myself, but I'm busy. There's this to do and this to do, and you had a business to run, a bricks and mortar business to run, etc. So what has already been created, what is already manifested, has most of our attention. So most of our attention is
Gotcha.
drawn to what is already in place. So what the benefit of the virus is it disrupts that. So it disrupted that. Said, Billy, you can't go into your business anymore. Billy, you can't pay attention there. You can't take up your time over there anymore. And that is interesting. But there's something about it that is not necessary. You always had the ability to switch your focus. You always had an ability to do that. And the benefit we get, the learning we get from this virus showing up, is that it disrupts all of the reality that has our attention, all of the stuff that fills up our day, all of the stuff that has already been created, which we are simply giving attention to and recreating and recreating and recreating through our attention and thinking to it. And once that's disrupted, you're left with, and a lot of people, you shared this, I think you've heard it from friends, and I hear from, you are left with a blank space.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, I don't, like all my meetings are canceled. I had like in-person training and facilitation to do. None of that is happening, right? Like, oh my God, those days are completely blank, right? So, but they're blank in what way? They're blank. Imagine the creation on a blank page compared to the creation on a full page.
Yeah.
Well, this is the same thing that is going on in our minds. Why did we wait around for a virus to come and clear the calendar? Why were we waiting for that? And so there is something that says who you are can always go to a blank page. Who you really are can always go to a blank page. You're not stuck with what's in the calendar, and you are not stuck with what you've already created. And so that is a matter of sensing and feeling that, and taking yourself back to a place where pure creation can happen again.
That's really interesting, Dominic. You and I are both tree principles. We're grounded. Most of our work is grounded in the tree principles. Essentially, all of it is at some level because it underpins everything. And when you're talking about how our attention has shifted away from the recreation of every day to a blank page, from the already scribbled page to a blank page, and to that place from where creation shows itself and makes itself manifest through us. Could you speak to that?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll give you some vivid examples with my clients. Okay. Now, when you listen to these stories, I'll tell you two of them, but when you listen to them, I want you to notice that the virus was unnecessary.
Okay.
And there is a huge benefit of the virus in the middle of this story. So I'm talking to this VP who led marketing, and I've known her. We've been coaching for a while, and I spoke with her 3 days after, the physical distancing rules came into place and the sort of solitude we need to all be in. And I spoke with her just 3 days after that happened. And I'm like, how are you doing? How's it going? She goes, wow, she goes, I can't believe this. I can't believe that we are actually able to operate in this environment with the, virtual tools and everything we've been given. Now, note, all of the technology was available prior. Okay. So again, you don't need the virus, right? But here's the part she said. She said, if you had talked to me last week, or call it 2 weeks ago, if you'd gone a little bit longer, she said, I would have told you for sure that my work is work that must be done in an office in person. And in fact, it's the way I led my team. And there was not virtual. And we did show up in the office, and I had a lot of reasons for that. We would collaborate in rooms, we would do all kinds of things, and I could see the results and the benefits of it. And here's the thing, she knew for sure that you could not do it any other way. When I say that, can you hear the belief in it? Can you hear the strong thinking in it that is just thinking, right? She said, I cannot believe that in 3 days, I'm telling you very honestly, I see that I could do this work from a beach. I could do this work from a beach. So here's a VP who knew for sure the way that work has to be and how she can contribute to an organization. In 3 days, can see that I could actually do this from a beach, and it wouldn't matter where my team is. How does that happen? That is amazing. And now what do we learn from something like that? By the way, I've got entire organizations, banks, right, who refused in certain areas to allow work from home, refused, had certain, rules. And there was so much good reason, all of it belief, all of it belief, all of it thinking. That's it. All of our barriers, all of our limitations are only thinking. And so this organization now, if it had any intention of surviving and operating, has in 4 or 5 days gone to a completely virtual operation. Yeah. And I'm coaching employees, leaders who are telling me, we have been trying to do this for 5 years. We have been wanting some sort of flexibility around this, and it's always been reams and reams of explanation and reasons why it can't be possible. And how come it's possible in a matter of days? The only thing that got shattered was belief. The only thing that disappeared was belief. That is how, and here's the flex in it. That is how powerful belief is, and that is how inconsequential it is, right? So it is so powerful, it will lock you into your limitations, and it is so inconsequential that you can poof it away and just shove it away in no time, because it has no substance. Yeah. It has no substance, but it has both those characteristics.
Dominic, I it's one of my favorite things to tackle when I'm working with clients is belief, and how it becomes an encoding of our life and holds us in situations that is unconsciously of our own making. Would you speak to the nature of belief, please?
Yeah. So don't try and get out of it. Don't try and figure out a way to be not in belief. Don't try to figure out a way that you can be in an empty mind and a blank mind and all of that stuff. You will have plenty of time to experience all of that once this physical body has deteriorated and is buried in the ground. You will have eternity to be able to understand that experience of what it would be like if you had no beliefs and you had no thinking. You will be able to, it happened before you showed up here. You were living in that environment of no beliefs, and it did exist eternally in that environment with no beliefs and no thought. But for the 100 years or so that you are here, you are creating everything via the thoughts that you are giving attention to, and more so practicing with yourself. And so you are giving attention to them and practicing them. And so there's a bunch of things and you know what all good people should be like, and you know what good people are like, and you know what bad people are like. And then you also know what successful people are like. And you know what a good life is and what, a more miserable life is. And all of it is constructed in thinking. All of it. And don't try and get out of it, because there's no way out of it. You have been given the paint with which to paint this 100 years. And so you use the paint and put it up there and see what you get. And as in the examples I gave you, I had leaders who said, and I don't need to point to them. I can point to myself. I knew that team coaching is something that could only be done in person. Okay, so I knew that. And because of the way that I have been trained, it has to be done in person, because when I do team coaching, I use physical movement and I put people into groups and I do all kinds of things with them, and they're learning from each other. A whole bunch of stuff is happening. But don't tell me I know for sure that we need to be together in a large room with lots of space so that we can do some things. Okay? So that's how thought was creating what I knew to be true, what those beliefs were. And here's what happened is my clients, one of them said, this project is too important. And I was scheduled to do a day with 20 people. They said, this is too important. I don't know what we're going to do, but we cannot do the meeting. Obviously, they were flying people in. We cannot do that. And I had to figure it out in a matter of days, how to create this experience and this learning, how to create the kind of sharing that would happen in a virtual setting, and how I learned things I didn't know were even there. Zoom has breakout rooms. I was able to take 20 people and put them into breakout rooms for small group conversations. I learned about a whiteboard. I learned that I could have people use symbols to put themselves onto this board and position themselves as if they were in a room, so we could physically see where they were standing relative to, the mission and purpose of the company, some exercises that I do. So all of a sudden, the thinking that was locked into place about how my business works and how I do it, it just went poof. It just went poof. And it turned into a blank page, and I had no answers. And from that place, I created something. And I am so excited about what's possible that I could do in my business. And here's what's crazy, but this was always possible. Why did I need this virus to do this? Why did I need it?
That's a really interesting example, and it illustrates the point that you're making really, really well, Dominic. That, like one of my coaches said to me one time, after I'd come out of a car accident and it had really thrown me, and I'd seen some stuff in my life. And he said to me, some people need a gentle wake-up call. He said, and some people need a belt of a bus to see what's in front of them already. And it's like this virus is that proverbial belt of a bus that has kind of slowed us down to see something that's already in existence. And to illustrate that point, it's what I find myself. I never used Zoom. I never went online and did lives. I never did Zoom lives through Facebook and Zoom. I have never used Calendly. I've never used online booking systems. I've never done any of this stuff. And in 2 weeks, I have all of this stuff in place.
You're a great example of that. Because I watched it happen.
Yeah, you did watch it happen.
All of a sudden, Billy shows up and he's going to run these Facebook Lives, and I've never seen you do it before, right? Oh. And it's like, who is this guy? All of a sudden, and then you send me a Calendly invite, right? And and I booked it, and I booked our time, and I'm like, so again, now what's important is that we not need another virus in order to do this.
Yeah.
Let us learn what was always there.
Yeah. This is what's one of those things that's occurring to me, Dominic, is the space of possibility now. Now that I've had to step back, and I have, circumstances have been, like you say, through the virus, have caused me to jump the needle of where I have been. And now I see this, and you're talking about creation, but it's the infinite space of possibility that's in front of us now.
And here's the thing, just remove the word now. It is the infinite space of possibility that was always there, and I was blind to it, right? In everything I'm seeing today, the big learning to really get is, my God, this was always there. This was always
Yeah.
right in front of me.
Yeah.
This was always there. So we live in unlimited, infinite possibility. And what we do is we focus in on a little bit of it through thought. Thought is focused consciousness. That's all
Mhm.
thought is. So
Mhm.
thought is focused consciousness. And so we focus consciousness, focus it onto something, and then we practice it. We practice it. We
That's
keep
a great way of describing it. Yeah.
thinking it. We keep
Yeah.
thinking it. And we talk to people who agree with us. We talk to people who agree with us. Yes, yes, it's so important that, coaching can only be done in person. No way. You get a whole other possibility in person, and it's not, you could never get that if it's virtual, right? And so we talk to people and we get an army of people who all agree with us because they agree with that same thing,
Yeah.
that same focus of consciousness. So the beliefs become more and more and more solid. And
Mhm.
then this comes and poof, they all disappear. They all disappear, and we get
Yeah.
to a point like that was always available. If you didn't like what you were creating, you didn't have to stick with it. If you
Yeah.
didn't like the world that you are living in, you do not have to stick with it. And so this is a bit of what we're starting to see. You don't have to stay there. You can
Uh,
create newly.
it is okay to change.
Right
It is
on.
okay to change it.
Right on.
Yeah. And there is no, which is another interesting paradigm that we tend to drop across with people is, and I would have seen it many years ago, but as an issue of the seeking of permission to live, almost the seeking of permission to change how we perceived our life, like you say, and how we were unaware that everything was already there waiting for us. We just needed to see it, as simple as that, without the seeking permission from life or from other people or
It's
affirmation.
interesting that what you said is really important, because that seeking permission even from yourself
Yeah,
is a huge limiter, and
yeah,
and it always was. And I'm seeing that with leaders today, because they're stepping up more boldly. They're stepping up more boldly in terms of the way that they're contributing in their companies. And here's the reason why: there is no time for permission. So once they see what their contribution is, and once they see the difference they can make, they go do it, and you try and stop them.
yeah,
Right? So you try and stop them.
yeah,
And so as long as they are aligned, as long as they are aligned to the purpose and mission of their organizations, they never needed permission. This is the thing. They never needed the permission. They didn't need the permission from the CEO, from the executive team, and all of that. If they are in alignment with the purpose of that organization and the mission of that organization, they are smart enough, we all are, to look around and see the opportunity of what it is they want to create and what to do.
mm,
And so they can just step into it and do them, and no one can stop them. Right? Again, taking into consideration all the structures like their budget, scope, and authority, and all of that stuff. But generally, they are looking for permission for things that they don't need permission in. And this is what we're discovering in our coaching calls, is that many of them are just stepping up and surprising themselves in the way that they are. And I mean, it's no different for me. The same thing is happening for me. I'm like, who is this guy? Yeah.
I know, I know, I know. I get that, and I find that, and sometimes I find myself in a conversation with a client, and like you were saying earlier on, I kind of go, "Wow, where did that one come out of?" Where even I'm surprising myself, and I think maybe just to continue this point a little bit, this isn't like you were saying, even though the focus of your industry is industry, etc., and the leaders of industry stuff. This is the same for every human being.
Right.
This isn't unique to organizations. This isn't unique to corporate structures, etc. This is the same for every human being. You do not need to wait for permission from anybody or anything, including yourself, to step up to something.
We are seeing it, evidence
Yeah,
of it all around us,
yeah,
right? how many, when you look in your neighborhoods and in your community, it's all over Facebook, the amount of sharing of people doing extraordinary things. Okay, the grocery clerks, the people in the healthcare business, the people who were closest to minimum wage that up until now we were not valuing.
Yeah.
Well, what is different? The value and difference and impact that all of them were making in our lives is no different today than it was 6 months ago, and we were blind to it. We were blind to it. And so now that we see this, you can imagine how much false conversations and beliefs are going to crumble. All the beliefs we have about minimum wage and whether or not it's right to raise it or not raise it. And by the way, executive pay and CEO pay as compared to the lowest level frontline workers, like the teller in your bank compared to what the CEO is earning in the bank. You know, we sometimes had opinions and other times did not have opinions about that. How our money was being used by those organizations and distributed across the spectrum. A lot of us are a lot more clear today about how I intend that money be used, or I will take my money elsewhere.
Yeah.
So the world will change because we've woken up not to anything new, but what was there weeks ago. And we can now see it more clearly than we ever have.
You know, it brings a quick story to mind, Dominic, and I am conscious of the time now. I saw it online last night as a presentation from an ad from a local chain of supermarkets, and the owner of the supermarket comes on and he thanks everybody for their continued support, etc. But what he did say, which really struck me, was that Easter Sunday tends to be a shopping Sunday. You know, people are turning up in the day and they're shopping all the way through the day. It's a long weekend or whatever. And he said this Easter they're closing the stores, all of them. And he said, I'm sure you don't begrudge me and my staff. We have been working continuously long hours where we too are going to close the business on Sunday.
What an amazing story of someone who saw the value in those workers also want the time with their family. And by the way, whoever you and I are that insists on having that store open on Easter, we've just learned that we can actually live without that. And when we see the value of the restriction, we are far more open to accepting the restriction, because when I see that by my actions and what I'm doing, I am allowing everyone to be able to enjoy that Easter with their family. And if we just stop for a minute, is that not what we really want? Is that not what we really want? If I'm the best in me, expressing and living this life, is that not really the values that I'm aligned with? And when that CEO makes that speech, I resonate with that. And I hear it and I support it.
100%.
And so they take their actions and they do their things, but the world will change. Yes.
Yeah. I thought, you know, how prescient, you know, how connected to the environment, and how he said, okay, well, everybody needs to take that break now, including me and the staff. And you're 100% correct, Dominic. It's forced us to see, and I use that word lightly, but to see those who've actually been keeping us fed, keeping us organized, keeping what we take for granted in motion. This is the stuff we've been taking for granted for years, and like you say, we don't see them. But yet, the long hours that they put in, making sure that the supply chain is there, making sure the food is available to us when we go shopping, pharmacies, and all of those, you know, butchers, etc. These are all people who are putting in long hours, making sure that we're okay in isolation. And I think you are 100% correct. It has shown up that amazing chain of events that goes unnoticed by us and has gone unnoticed by us until now. You know? And it's, to me, it's a sense of the awakening humanity.
Yes.
It is.
So we will go forward and we are creating a new world.
Yeah.
Creation will change. And the reason the creation changes is because all of our thinking changes. The world that's out there is a mass consciousness, a set of beliefs that are shared. And in that set of beliefs that are shared, there were people working, Sundays and holidays and all of that. But as that set of beliefs changes, that's no longer what is manifest in the creation. And the creation shifts and changes, all because our minds change.
Yeah.
And so as our minds change, we create a new world. And let's please not do this again. Let's just know that we can just do this anytime we want.
Yeah.
Let's not hope and pray for another crisis like this to happen. We can do this. We can do this individually. We can do this as a mass.
Like you say, it's shown us the possibilities of what's already been available to us when we started to look. Dominic, I am aware of the time, and I think on that note of possibility and hope and creation, I really, I could do this for hours with you, Dominic. It's a marvelous conversation. You are an engaging and witty and incisive man and it's given me so much pleasure just to even have this conversation with you. Before I wrap it up, Dominic, if people are reaching out to you, where would they find you?
Well, if this will be on Facebook, just find me, and the link is obviously in the live or whatever.
It is, yes. And the link is actually in the bio I put up for you as well, by the way.
Okay, cool. And you can friend me on Facebook, and then my about page gives you a website and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. I wish I could give you a hug.
Yeah, we'll get there, Dominic. We will get there for sure. Yes. We will. Listen, hold on, and I'll see you on the other side. For everybody else, thank you so much for joining us and this marvelous conversation with Dominic, one I've really loved today. There's no live tomorrow, but we have the fabulous Jackie Ford on Thursday afternoon. Yeah, I know. I love Jackie. I've had several conversations with her. So I'm looking forward to that on Thursday. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll answer the comments down on the other side afterwards. I don't answer them now because the time is that bit shorter. Thank you all so much for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday. Dominic, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Billy.
No, Dominic, we are out of that one, my friend.
Wow, that was so much fun. Wow.
Wasn't it so much fun, Dominic?
I appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm just going to hit